Hey, what's going on, here we go. Here we are. Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today is going to be a live energy update for the week of April 4th through April 10th. So first off, can I see a 1 in the comments that you can hear me and see me okay? I just want to make sure I'm good here. Maybe just type a 1. Okay, awesome, awesome. So first off, I want to say just how much I love you guys. I literally filmed this video like 30 minutes ago, like a half-hour video, and it didn't record correctly. So I'm going to do it here live with you right now on the fly. So this week is a very powerful week. A lot of you can probably already feel that in your lives. This is like a type of energy that I've come to call like a choice point, where there's kind of a fork in the road vibrationally in your, where you could go down one of two life paths. And this is not even like one's bad and one's good, but it's kind of like saying, like, once you step on this path, there will eventually be enough momentum to where the opportunity to do this other thing will be gone. And during these times, it can feel like there's a lot going on, a lot of shifts kind of happening, a lot of energy. It can be kind of like a lot of anxiety. But ultimately, the way to navigate these choice points, as simple and cliche as it sounds, is to simply follow your heart. I'll give an example. One of the choice points I'm facing right now is to have another child or not, kind of a big one. And the other day I woke up with the song. You guys might not know this. It'll date me, but from Bone Thugs and Harmony, an old rap group, The Crossroads is the name of the song. And I woke up with that song in my head, Crossroads. I haven't thought of that song or heard that song in probably 20 years. Anyway, it was right after having a dream of having a baby. And that's something that my wife and I have been really considering a lot. And I've just been feeling in my own life like this strong idea, like, listen, you're getting older, bro. You can't just have a baby in 10 years from now. You got to do it. So for those of you wondering, we're going to have a fourth child. I really strongly believe it's going to be a little girl. And it fills my heart with joy to think about that. Now, sometimes these choice points can be even more difficult to decide than that. And that's kind of a big one, whether to bring a child into your life or not. I remember a couple of years ago, and maybe you guys remember this, when I stopped making YouTube videos. That was something that came out of left field for me. I started to feel this strong sort of intuition that I needed to step back from YouTube. Why? Why would you do that, Vic? You're helping all these people. You're changing lives. You like doing them. You've done it for a while and you're getting better at them. You're pretty good. Why? Why, after all this progress in this area, would I feel this intuition to stop making so many videos? I didn't know at the time. I didn't know why. It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And so I battled with myself for quite a while. And then I would try to make a video and I'd have all these weird problems happening. And I just started to feel like this strong intuition, like in my heart, that there's something else. I didn't know what else. And I knew I had to kind of stop making the YouTube videos. And for me, it had a lot to do with, where my life was heading. There's nothing wrong in a sense with making a lot of YouTube videos, but it does set one up on a particular trajectory. And during that time, I kept seeing this synchronicity. I would call it the star synchronicity. Now, stars are good for the most part, and a lot of people deep down want to be famous, and that's kind of what it meant when I would see that. It would show me like you're gonna get a lot bigger than you are now. But what was weird is when I would see that synchronicity and sort of connect it to that idea, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like I had this sense like maybe this isn't what you really want, Vic. And anyway, I later discovered that going down that path would have caused me to have to sacrifice a lot of things that are very important to me, like time with my family, the ability to be grounded and present and content. Because though becoming really popular is very stimulating, very elevating, very exciting, it comes at a price. And for me, and everyone's different, of course, but the price for me was presence. Might not sound like a big deal, but it is. I would be off work, but in my head. I became very consumed with, like, what are people saying? How's this last video doing? And I would justify it because I was helping people. However many people watch this video is going to be determined on how many people's lives I touch. So I had excuses for doing what I was doing, but my heart knew better. My soul knew better. But I tell you this because it wasn't an easy choice to make. Again, on paper, it made no sense. I had all these rationalizations as to why I need to keep going and keep plowing forward on YouTube, but my heart knew better. Okay. And the best thing to do if you find yourself with this type of energy where you're feeling like you got to make a choice, but you really don't know which one to make, I invite you to sit with it. Because as you sit and simply contemplate your options, there's so much clarity and so much healing that can occur. And if you give yourself the time before maybe making a hasty choice to really sit with it, a lot of times the clear option becomes more clear. And for me, what happened was, and this kind of leads me to point number 2, I wrote down getting to the core. What became aware to me was my true, or at least a big part of my true motive for wanting to be famous on YouTube. I told myself it's my purpose. I want to help people, yada, yada. And while that's true, there's another shadow aspect to that intention as well. And it came down to the fact that I needed to be famous to be worthy. I needed to be popular in order to feel like I'm enough. And that's what I started to kind of realize. That was why, a big reason I think I became popular. I think that was part of my drive, quite honestly. And that part of me was starting to kind of fade away. I was starting to see how silly that is. Like I'm enough just as I am. And so are you. And so is everybody else, just because of who we are, our energy, our essence, just our beingness. That's enough. And I was starting to kind of wake up to that. And that's why I was having all this sort of conflict, because I had set my life up in a way that wasn't necessarily purely as authentic and aligned as it could have been. But that whole situation can be quite troublesome because it's like, there's a lot of pressure to make the right choice. The choice might not initially feel clear. And it's this whole thing. It really is. But anyway, that's sort of my example. I'm going to move on and move on to I think I said enough about that. I'm going to move on to number 2, getting to the core. A lot of times as we are in the process of stepping up into our true power, parallel, we will become faced with our core wound. And for most of us, our core wound has to do with very early childhood. And that's why it's kind of tough to get to, because how many of you remember early childhood? 3, 4 years old? Do you have like a lot of memories? I don't. And yet those are our most like formidable years for who we become, our emotional makeup, our sense of self, for the good or bad. It's formed at those highly impressionable years that we can't remember. And most of us, we grew up with parents who weren't enlightened and therefore had egos, had a shadow. And when you live with somebody, you see that shadow. There's no hiding it. There's no hiding your shadow from your kids. Trust me. As much as you would want to, you can't. Even with all the love in the world and the best intentions, sometimes as a parent, you react at your kids from your deepest, yuckiest shadow aspects. And we're these open, impressionable, innocent little vessels, just taking in these energies from our parents, drawing conclusions from like the perception of like a little kid who doesn't really know much about life yet. And then from there, we form these beliefs, these definitions. Mom left the family and there's a divorce. My fault. I must not be enough. For me, it was like I sensed that my dad resented me. My dad's father died when he was 10. And I could tell, and also my dad was shipped off to Vietnam at 18, and he had kind of a lot of like crap thrown at him throughout his life, one thing after the other, big things. And he saw me, this little kid, getting all his love from my mom, and had such a kind of a cozy life. And I could tell, and he didn't want it to be this way, but as a kid, I could feel he like resented that. And I could feel that like you don't deserve this type of energy, little boy. And anyway, so I've grown up with this feeling of not deserving things, thinking that like all the good things in my life really don't belong there and they might get taken away because I don't deserve it. So as an example, right? You might find yourself one way or another discovering these things about yourself. And it's like, holy cow, when you start to realize like your core wounds, your whole life makes perfect sense. The good, the bad, the aligned, the misaligned. And it can cause you, when you start to wake up to this, to change your path. And this change is, oh man, that's where you really can start to live and thrive and become empowered and happy and content and alive. And that's the potential. But it's hard. It's hard to face these core wounds, and it takes time. And one of the ways you know what's happening in your life right now is if you find yourself like overreacting emotionally to certain things. Like, I don't want to give anybody I know as an example, but you know what I mean? Like where something sort of benign and on the surface happens, but your emotional response is like, they're going to leave me or they don't love me. It's like, no, they were just frustrated from work and, they stubbed their toe and they said, what the hell? It had nothing to do with you. But you can start to feel like you start to have a similar emotional reaction to circumstances that don't necessarily imply that at all. But because you're more conscious, you realize, wow, I reacted emotionally this way to this, to that. It makes no sense. Why is that? Why? And you just start to kind of chip away. And if you can be willing to ask that question, why? Victor, why do you want to be famous on YouTube? Why do you really feel into it? I'm not enough. You see, it's a great time to really get to the core. And as you do, it's like a simultaneous thing. The degree in which you allow yourself to go into those pockets of energy, those misaligned beliefs that are deep inside of you, that the more you step into your power. And the more you feel yourself falling into that energy, the more you're already phenomenal time to step into your power, my friends, even if you feel, more powerless than ever at times. And the third thing I wrote down here is true abundance. Now, going back to my point number one, I mentioned I was at this crossroads. I can keep making YouTube videos, and on paper it made sense, or I can peel back and have kind of a quieter life. What I found is that in doing so and peeling back, as you see guys now, I do like one video a week, is that I have true abundance, real happiness, real freedom, real fulfillment. I'll give an example. I just got back from Costa Rica a couple of days ago, actually. And in Costa Rica, we run these plant medicine retreats. We do ayahuasca, San Pedro. We bring in these amazing shamans. And it's like my friend Aaron Dowdy and my wife, Pattie, and I, we've been doing these for a couple of years now. And by far, it's the most complicated thing we're involved in. And in terms of like a business sense, by far the least profitable, the most energy and the most work and the hardest work, the most complication almost, the least profit. So it's like, why do we do it? True abundance. That's why. Because it's the most rewarding thing. It's the most special thing. Working together, like 20 something people are involved in this, just to take a small group of people through this like life-changing transformation, just to be a part of that. Just it's so unspeakably touching and special and rewarding and sacred, and it's like such a humbling thing to do. And yes, I'm exhausted. I'm so tired right now. And that's why the video might feel all over the place, because I'm still not rested. And, it's hard work when we're there. And there are times where it's just really difficult, but I do it because it's like, that's what it does. It's true abundance. True abundance is like being able to really be with the goodness that's already in your life. True abundance is like walking outside in nice spring air now and hearing a bird chirping, and actually hearing that bird chirping, actually feeling the vibrations of those innocent, casual notes being spouted out by the bird, actually feeling it in your body, in your system, and appreciating it, appreciating the magnificence of that bird, how unusual of a creature, and it can sing, it can fly, and it's right there for you. And it's like, abundance is like recognizing that. And the more you start chipping away at your core wounds, the more you realize you don't have to have all this stuff going on. You can live a very sort of simple life where, a very sort of simple, regular life, and be so content. The people we work with, the medicine people we work with, they live in this place in Costa Rica called Pachamama. Pachamama is like this community, almost like this alternate sort of community, not like a utopian type community, but something like that, where they have their own values. They're very, very spiritual. They very, very much live on the earth. And we went to this woman's house, and she had this really small house. Not quite a tiny house, but almost what you'd consider a tiny house. But it had this amazing view, all these plants, all these like trees. And it was like, man, it was she had these little dogs, and it's like so different than sort of this Western way we live in. And yet these are some of the happiest people you will ever meet. The most grounded, humble, appreciative, grateful, peaceful, powerful people I've ever met in my life. And they live in this kind of simple way. They have true abundance. So anyway, that's kind of, you might find yourself reevaluating your definition of abundance this week as well, and aligning your life accordingly. And the last thing I'm going to say is a tip of the week. The tip of the week is going to seem a little bit unrelated to what we've been talking about, but I'm going to explain it. Okay. It's speak up. Speak up. As you start to heal at this depth, you start to realize when your needs aren't getting met. You start to be able to really easily perceive the things that are out of balance in your life, oftentimes with relationships, with your career, the relationship of like the energy you're putting into something or someone, and like what's being reciprocated. You start to become aware of all the imbalances in your life. And when you kind of wake up to it, initially, it can be like really frustrating. Like, I can't believe I put up with this whole time. But what I recommend you do is be quick to speak up. Be quick to voice what's going on. Because a lot of times when we harbor things, as you know, especially right now, if you harbor a resentment, it's going to drive you crazy. You're not going to sleep well. Your health is going to go to be bad. It's like you can't afford vibrationally to hold on to resentments any longer. And in doing so, not only are you going to suffer, we all know that, but you're also going to it's going to come out. It's going to come out one way or the other. And when you're more quick to share your feelings honestly, the more control you have over in how it comes out. And a lot of times through these sort of uncomfortable conversations that we have with people, that's where we really get our needs met and feel balance and harmony return to our life. Relationships can deepen beautifully, even if it's hard and uncomfortable for a time. It's also the other side of this whole thing. It's also good to really speak up and tell those in your life that you love them. Sometimes they don't know. I used to think people just know. I would assume they know how I feel. They know I love them. Not always. An example of mine is my buddy Heather from Activation Vibration. She's like this super awesome human being. I'm just very impressed with her. Very cool, very fun, and just very nice. She gives so much love. She's one of the most loving people I've ever met. And I realized like I've never really told her that I appreciate her. So I decided to, and I could just see it on her face, like she felt so good just hearing that. And I just assumed she knew. And I realized that right then and there, I'm gonna not be so quiet about people I really care about, because you never know. You just spontaneously calling mom or dad or your sister or whatever and saying, hey, you know what? I just want to let you know. I have no agenda for calling. I just want to say I love you and I'm so happy you're in my life. You don't that can have such an amazing effect on a person. I've had that happen to me, and it's always benefited me beautifully. So anyway, my friends, that's the gist of this video. It actually came out better. I told the people in the beginning that I filmed the whole video earlier and it didn't record correctly. So that's why I'm on live here. Before I go, I do want to let you also know that on Monday, the 18th, I'm doing something called a 7-day shadow healing journey that you're all welcome to participate in. It's 7 days of live interactive coaching with me. And I'm going to be taking you through different processes that I would formerly take all my coaching clients through, like somatic release breath work, QHHT, past life regressions, as a couple of examples. Each day we'll do something different. And the whole theme is to help you quickly move through a lot of your core energies, your core issues. Because the reason I'm doing this, I felt inspired to do this like months ago. Actually, kind of when we got into 2022, I saw so many people feeling this call to step into their power and their purpose and just step into that next level of their life. And having done that, I know it's scary and there can be a lot of old unresolved issues that flail up at you, making it very difficult to move forward. And I wanted to create something that will help you guys in a very safe and guided way move through a lot of that stuff more smoothly, more easily. Okay. So the doors to sign up are open as of today. You might be the first people actually to know about it. And I'll leave a link down below to check it out, to check out all the different details of what's involved and how much it costs and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to be amazing, my friends. It really is. It's a really good deal too. You used to have to coach with me or come to one of my retreats to basically get access to these types of processes. And now you can get it very, very inexpensively because I'm doing it on like a digital way with lots of people. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to bounce you guys. You guys have an amazing day. Thank you all for showing up. I hope you had fun today, and I wish you all nothing but the best. I'll be here next week, probably with a regular video, and see you soon, my friends. Much love. Peace.